Welcome to Sister Scoop, where we're taking on the big three Marvel news topics of the week. We're going to start with the very first one, which is regarding Spider-Man Brand New Day.
Yeah, so we have a summary for the film, which is pretty exciting. It actually comes from this Art of the Movie book. So Barnes & Noble kind of spoiled it for all of us. In a good way, though. I'm happy to have the information. But I will say, I think if you've read the summary, if you haven't, go read it. But if you've read the summary, I think one big thing will stick out to you, which is that it lays out that it's been 4 years since we have last seen Peter Parker, which according to my math, and I verified this online to make sure I'm not misremembering, we are now set in 2028 for Brand New Day. So we caught up to the MCU and they just said, JK, more time jumps.
Yeah. This probably is the most annoying thing for me. Primarily because of what you just said. We did finally catch up. Mind you guys, there was already a 5-year time jump that we were kind of trailing behind the entire time for most of phase 4 and 5 and now even into 6. And we were finally kind of getting more adjacent to where we are now just for this to be a thing. And the reason I think this is prominent is now this kind of affects Doomsday. Right? Like this is a mile marker that affects where our timeline goes literally from here on out. And so it's kind of aggravating to find out that much time has passed. I think narratively it's going to be nice because I think we're going to really just skip all the oh, okay, let's get through all this. I think it's going to be nice that we could just get into how he is now as just Spider-Man, not Peter Parker. Well, he is still Peter Parker, but not everybody knowing him being in his own new life and really fast forwarding into kind of some of the more Spider-Man-esque stories that we knew even just from the Tobey and Andrew era. So I like it for that, but yeah, from a personal vendetta area, I'm oh God, why did we have to do that?
I know. It's I can't believe we have to go back to being the math on the timeline. But to your point, it is exciting that we're not picking up, right after. We're getting him, settled in this new role, or new for us role of kind of how we're going to see him. I think one of the lines that stood out to me from the summary was Peter Parker is no more. So he's really just, leaning into that Spider-Man identity basically after everything that he knew and loved as Peter Parker was either, sadly passed away in May or was taken from him because of the spell. So he really doesn't have those anchors for him anymore. And it'll be interesting. I'm excited to see Tom especially take on this particular storyline. I think we saw so much of his capability in No Way Home in playing some of those grittier, more upsetting storylines. And I think watching him then do that, picking up on where he is now in that kind of mindset, I think is going to be, I'm excited. I think Tom's going to kill it. So this makes me excited too.
Yeah, I'm definitely excited. I just, unfortunately, the 4-year time jump is just,
I know.
A little bitter.
I know.
But speaking of almost bitter, I don't even know how else to go about that. We could be getting more Thor. Now, love Chris Hemsworth. This has nothing to do with him. I love who is left of our OG Avengers. Obviously, they built this MCU on their backs. But I'm not sure out of all the characters I was yes, give us more of. I thought it would be Thor.
Yeah, it's super interesting. Chris has addressed probably a couple times, but I can think of at least one specifically where he's addressed kind of what happened with Love and Thunder and kind of that tone and how it kind of shifted, I think, how people felt about Thor, especially after Ragnarok, which had shifted how people felt about Thor from before. So, I think he, and one of the articles I was reading pointed this out as well, he was maybe not so excited about the character just after everything that happened, but it sounds like he's had some really encouraging conversations with the studio about how they want to continue telling stories. I mean, he says, and I'll quote here, he's interested in doing it a couple more times. So for him, he's like, and the article I was reading was pointing out that's probably a Thor 5. It's probably a couple of team ups. So I mean, it makes sense. I think he is one of the more popular characters at this point, just
Yeah.
sheerly because, I mean, don't get me wrong, Chris Hemsworth is great, but sheerly because of the longevity that he's had in the MCU. So we'll see. I hope they, maybe take it in a different direction. He kind of hinted that might be what they do, is pivot it completely away from what they were doing in Love and Thunder.
I
We'll
hope so.
see. I mean, yeah. I mean, look, again, this article was great. It kind of was like talking about all the different angles of it, but they were saying, even in Doomsday, we see him in a very different light than we saw him last in Love and Thunder. And so they're already kind of maybe making some of those tonal shifts, and we'll see how that then translate or doesn't into his any solo projects that he may be, involved in.
Yeah, I mean, I think the bigger thing for me at the end of the day at this point is just a little bit of shock that this character is one that they are still so interested in keeping around. Primarily because, yeah, he's had 4 movies, as you stated. Ragnarok kind of undid 1 and 2 to allow him to be like Thor. And then I feel like Love and Thunder undid Ragnarok.
Yeah.
And so I think it's kind of interesting because if you really kind of tally up, like he's 1 and 3. Like, as a solo movie, like, he hasn't exactly hit, he's not even break like, going 50-50 even split. So I think it's kind of interesting that this is a character that they seem to be intrigued in continuing. As you said, changes are underway, I'm sure, from where they left him off, and also from a team up perspective and things of that nature. But it is kind of it is just interesting. I didn't really think we would still have Chris Hemsworth. I knew Thor 5 was coming, but like, I don't think I really thought he was going to have that much more in the tank that he wanted to even do with Marvel, let alone Marvel continue with Thor.
Yeah, I think for me, the biggest surprise is, and obviously the soft reboot isn't confirmed, but and of course we're going to bring some characters through. Like, we're not going to get rid of, especially some of our newer characters who I'm looking at, like Shang-Chi comes to mind, who are really beloved, who people want to see more and are clamoring for more of him, for example. Yeah. I don't feel like that was necessarily the vibe for Thor. Like, in my head, it was like, okay, Secret Wars is kind of the moment to be like, okay, we are now officially moving away from everybody who was an original Avenger. I guess not. I mean, look, he's great. Yeah. We'll see. But that was kind of in my head. That was what was going to happen. So Marvel just proving my headcanon wrong over here on the daily.
No, I mean, I kind of thought the same thing. I thought, that would kind of mark the end of the official, like, OG6. But we'll see how that plays out. I guess that's not true. But speaking of our new era, I don't even know if this is good or bad news. It depends on what side of the line I guess you stand on, depending on casting and like if you really wanted this person or you believe this person and things of that nature. But Daniel Radcliffe, Harry Potter himself, who has been pretty much fan casted for years to take on the Wolverine mantle from Hugh Jackman, has pretty much come out and said, no, that's not me. I don't really want to have to fill those shoes. That was cool that everybody did that. I respect it. But I'm not playing Wolverine.
Yeah. And I think, to your point, I loved that he was like, I have zero desire to take over what is someone else's most iconic role. Like, and this is a man who has brought to life one of the most iconic franchises and main characters in history. So you would think if anybody was going to be like, you know what, I think I can do it, it would be Mr. Daniel Radcliffe himself.
Correct.
Yet he was like, I'm good. But it was also funny because he was saying like, at no point did any of these rumors like actually have any meat to them whatsoever. He's like, this was all you. This was all you guys. Yep. Like, not happening.
No, he literally was like, the fans, I'm so appreciative of that. Like, it's such an honor, but no, like that never happened.
Yeah. And to your point, which I think you hinted at in kind of the lead up, he could be Andrew Garfield fielding us all, but I don't know. I mean, especially, we've talked about this a lot. The X-Men really depend on the age, like where they choose
100%.
catch up with them in their journey or start their journey. So he could be the perfect age. He could be a little too old. He could be a little too young. Like, it just really depends. And since we have nobody else who's been confirmed from the X-Men team, we can't even be like, well, based on this one character, we think he could be XYZ. Like, no. So it's just, there's so many variables. I think he would absolutely kill it. I mean, he's a fantastic actor. He's murdering every Broadway play or show that he's in. So not only can he do it on screen, but he can do it 6 or 7 times a week in front of a live audience. Like, that's an actor with some chops. But I don't know. We'll see. I'm not sure if this is happening.
Yeah, I mean, I'm kind of going to look at it from the longevity perspective. The person who's going to play Wolverine, we at least need for 10 years, if not longer. I mean, they've had Hugh for how long?
Almost 20? Like, more than 20?
Yeah, like they've had this guy like signed up. As Deadpool said, he'll do it till he's literally dead. So at this point, like, I do kind of have to anticipate that this person needs to be able to fulfill the role for at least 10 years, if not longer. And I mean, as much as I hate to say it, like, Daniel Radcliffe is beginning to be on the other side of even the older edge of the X-Men. If we really think about 10 years and adding those 10 years, I mean, look at how all our OG6 aged over the years they were all in there and things of that nature. So, I mean, obviously aging is natural. We get it, but you're also kind of playing a guy who like doesn't inherently age the same way as everybody else. So like, there's a lot of factors to consider.
So many layers.
Yeah. So I do think from that perspective, I'm like, oh, I'm not too sure. I think he might be just telling us the truth. But we will have to see how it pans out. This is, an age-old fan casting at this point. So whether or not you want to believe him, honestly, that's up to each and every single one of you on your own.
Yeah. That's the best way to put it, I think.
Yeah. Whatever you want to believe, you believe in it. How about that?
Until the casting comes out, then it is what it is.
Exactly. All right, guys, that has been this week's Sister Scoop. Make sure you guys are joining us again next week as we take on 3 more Marvel news topics for whatever is to come. And make sure you guys are also listening to us on the podcast side as well. There's some good stuff that get in there as we get a little bit closer and inch closer to Daredevil coming not too far away, actually. So we'll see you guys next week. Bye.